You won't find alarmism or sensationalism here. Our channel delivers real, direct, and responsible guidance, always rooted in careful study, reliable analysis, and deep human understanding. Every piece of content is designed to open your eyes, strengthen your independence, and help you protect your peace with greater clarity, awareness, and emotional safety. You've probably noticed how some people come into your life like a light, but slowly, they start dimming your peace. The narcissist and the hypocrite do exactly that. They praise, manipulate, twist things, and before you realize it, you're emotionally drained, blaming yourself for things you never did. Today, I'll show you how to clearly recognize these two types, and more importantly, how to protect yourself before they destroy your calm. Stay with me, because understanding this can free you from years of silent exhaustion. We're saving the most revealing part for the end, not to hold you back, but because understanding the mind of a narcissist or a hypocrite takes patience. Some truths only make sense when you absorb them step by step. Living with a narcissist or a hypocrite is like walking on a floor that seems solid, but slowly gives way beneath you. At first, they seem charming, polite, on your side. They make you believe you found someone trustworthy. But over time, you start to feel something off, a quiet exhaustion, a guilt you can't explain, a constant sense that you're always getting things wrong, even when you're doing your best. This is the emotional trap millions fall into every day. The narcissist has a compulsive need for admiration. They demand that you revolve around them, validate their opinions, and put them first at all times. When you don't, they respond with coldness, sarcasm, subtle attacks, or silent punishment. They use charm when they want something, but cruelty when they're crossed. The result? Your self-esteem begins to shrink. You start doubting your decisions, your worth, even your own perception of reality. The narcissist slowly erodes your peace, draining your emotional energy until you feel too small to push back. The hypocrite destroys in a different way. They say one thing and do another. They demand behaviors they themselves never practice. They talk about kindness but act with deceit. They claim to care about you, but spread criticism behind your back. They live behind masks, creating different versions of themselves depending on who's around. And without realizing it, you start living on edge, trying to guess which version of them will show up next. The result? Mental exhaustion that leaves you tense, suspicious, and emotionally drained. When you're around people like this, your peace is the first thing to disappear. You feel drained, like you're always in debt, always having to explain yourself, always walking on eggshells. Too often, you try to make up for their pain by giving more of yourself, but the narcissist is never satisfied, and the hypocrite never acknowledges it. The more you give, the more they take. And when you finally realize you're hurt, you've already lost sleep, joy, trust, and even parts of your identity. Recognizing these types is the first step toward protecting yourself. Watch for patterns. They always blame you, they never take responsibility, they manipulate with praise or by playing the victim, they get angry when you set boundaries, they twist situations to make themselves look superior or wronged. And above all, they use your empathy against you. So how do you handle it? First, don't argue with them hoping they'll change, because narcissists and hypocrites don't see themselves clearly. Second, set clear boundaries, say no, reduce contact, protect your emotions. Third, don't share your vulnerabilities, because they'll use everything as ammunition. And if you can, the best solution is simply to walk away, not out of revenge, but out of self-preservation. The truth is simple, you can't save someone who won't admit their flaws. But you can, and you must, save yourself. When you distance yourself from these people, your mind begins to breathe again, your energy returns, and life starts making sense once more. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's emotional survival. It's respecting who you are and who you still have the potential to become. To make all of this even clearer, let's walk through a path that reveals these truths in a simple, direct way, small stories, modern parables, that show in practice how living with a narcissist or a hypocrite isn't bad luck, but a warning. These stories expose how manipulation, lies, and emotional games can wound deeply, but also how they can open your eyes to freedoms you never saw before. Each story works like a mirror. It shows how these people seem to test you, almost break you, before revealing who they truly are. At the same time, it highlights how firm boundaries, self-awareness, and a shift in attitude can completely change the course of someone seeking peace. These parables will illustrate, with emotion and clarity, how the pain caused by these toxic personalities can become strength, how exhaustion can turn into courage, and how walking away can become the wisest, lightest, and truest step in your emotional journey. Let's begin. Emily met Nathan during a vulnerable time in her life. He seemed brilliant, he praised every little thing, promised support, told her she was one of a kind. But slowly, Emily began to disappear. Nathan demanded constant admiration, criticized her choices, and when challenged, responded with silent punishment. For months, Emily tried to be better, believing the problem was her. One day, as she looked in the mirror, she realized she didn't recognize the person staring back. Her eyes were sad, her posture slumped, her mind completely worn out. In that moment, she understood, Nathan only loved her as long as she revolved around his ego. So Emily did what felt impossible, she cut off contact. At first, it hurt, but a few days later, her mind breathed for the first time in years. She discovered that peace doesn't come from pleasing someone who has no depth, it comes from honoring who you are. As she reclaimed her identity, Emily realized walking away wasn't running from something, it was being reborn. Michael seemed like the perfect man, kind in public, polite with friends, always willing to help. But with Olivia, his demeanor changed. He demanded behaviors he never practiced himself, used the word concern to hide control, and quietly spread criticism about her when no one was watching. Olivia began living on edge, constantly trying to guess which version of him would show up that day. Every broken promise chipped away at her trust, her peace, her courage to speak up. Everything changed when Olivia found messages where he was talking badly about her behind her back, to look like the good guy. The pain ran deep, but it brought clarity. She realized she hadn't been dating a partner, she'd been trying to decode a character. Olivia made a promise to herself, zero tolerance for dishonesty. When she ended the relationship, she felt a different kind of silence, one that healed. Freedom came when she understood that truth never lives in someone who needs masks. Working with Ethan felt like walking into an office where the walls kept moving. One morning, he praised Robert's performance, calling him essential to the team. By afternoon, he mocked Robert's ideas in front of everyone. At first, Robert thought it was just stress, but soon he saw the pattern, manipulation. Ethan twisted conversations, denied promises, and always made Robert feel responsible for the chaos he himself created. Robert began to doubt his own worth. He avoided meetings, lost sleep, and felt small in a place where he'd once worked with pride. The emotional toll left him exhausted. The turning point came when he found emails where Ethan took credit for Robert's projects, and still blamed him for mistakes that never happened. The pain was deep, but finally, it brought clarity. Robert understood it wasn't incompetence, it was emotional abuse. He went to HR, requested a department transfer, and minimized contact with Ethan as much as possible. Without that daily poison, his mind started breathing again. His productivity returned, and the confidence that had been worn away began to grow back. He learned that peace at work doesn't exist where reality is twisted, and that walking away, when you can, is the wisest thing you can do to protect your emotional health. Mark had always been a dedicated professional, but working with Daniel turned his days into a constant weight. Daniel presented himself as an exemplary leader, preaching ethics and unity, but behind the scenes, he was a hypocrite. He sabotaged colleagues, spread subtle criticisms, and demanded behaviors he never lived himself. Mark tried hard to keep the atmosphere light, but every action from Daniel seemed to prune something inside him. Over time, Mark realized his professional garden had stopped growing. Projects stalled because of Daniel's interference, ideas were tossed out if they didn't feed his ego, and any attempt at conversation was met with arrogance. Mark started arriving at work tense, suspicious, and emotionally drained. The shift happened when a coworker quietly told him, "He does this to everyone. It's never been about you." Those words landed like a revelation. Mark understood he'd been trying to bloom in contaminated soil. So he set boundaries, he started documenting interactions, shared facts with management, and requested a team transfer. When he finally moved away from Daniel, something unexpected happened, his creativity returned. The weight on his shoulders vanished. Mark learned that protecting your peace at work isn't weakness, it's maturity. And sometimes, stepping away from someone who destroys, even quietly, is the only way to start growing again. This channel is new, but our mission is deep, to reveal, based on real emotional and psychological evidence, that no one is immune to the impact of a narcissist or a hypocrite. The pain, confusion, and exhaustion many face in these relationships aren't signs of weakness, they're warnings that you've been exposed to manipulative behavior without realizing it. Here, you learn how to recognize these patterns and how to change your situation through firm boundaries, self-awareness, and actions grounded in serious research on human behavior. You learn how small shifts in how you position yourself, how you read others' actions, and how you care for your own peace can restore your emotional energy, strengthen your mind, and bring back the sense of safety these toxic personalities try to steal. The stories you've heard in this video aren't fiction. They're modern parables inspired by real-life situations, showing how simple changes in attitude can lead to profound transformation. If this content touched you, subscribe, leave a like, and comment so you don't miss the next video. We're walking together, with truth, with awareness, and with hope for a lighter, protected, and more peaceful emotional life.